Hi there. This is my Module 5 assignment, and this week I looked into my own community and I gathered a better understanding of what it's like. So I work in Stillwell, Kansas. It's very close to Overland Park, Kansas. It's kind of like a smaller town right outside of Overland Park. And my school building is Wolf Springs Elementary School. So here's some customs and traditions that are important to my community. The first two are the Bridge to the Future Community Breakfast and Battle of the Bands. Both of those events are put on by the Blue Valley District, and it just connects them with other businesses in the area and key leaders in the area, and they do a lot of fundraising for different schools and things we're trying to do for following years. The next big events in our area are the Night of Lights 10K. It happens every year. They always have a really big turnout. The Garmin Marathon is another really big turnout event. Holiday Market at the Overland Park Convention Center. Lots of different craftsmen and families come together and make food or quilts or just different arts, and it's a really cool time for the community to connect and celebrate the holidays. They also do the Overland Park Fall Festival, which is very similar in feeling. The Kansas State Fair, lots of our students do live around farms or have farms, and so a few of my students this year were raising cows to take to the Kansas State Fair, so that's pretty important to this area. And then, of course, the Blue Valley end-of-year proms. Some more customs and traditions important in my area. Just an overall feeling of the people. Families in Overland Park, Stillwell, Kansas area, they're typically very well established. Most of them are successful professionally, and most of them have been in the area for a while, were raised here, and tend to settle down here and stay for the long run. The families have a very high value for school and extracurricular activities. Parents in Blue Valley and at Wolf Springs Elementary, they're very supportive, very involved. There's usually 100% turnout for parent-teacher meetings from what I hear, and any open night at the school, it's always a full house. And most families are pretty well established with their jobs, but a lot of families tend to have a side business as well, so very high income in this area. So here's a little bit piggybacking off of that about our population and the characteristics. So the district demographics, so within Blue Valley schools, there's a graduation rate of 97.2%. In 2021, there were 49 high school seniors that were named National Merit Finalists. So there's a good deal of achievement and a lot of pressure for students to achieve big things and do very well from parents. The population is 7,734. The median age in Stillwell is 47 years old. So mostly middle-aged people who are homeowners in this area. There's a pretty even divide between male and female population, and the largest employers are Synergy Group, Sprint, and YRC Worldwide. Some other major employers are different hospitals. There are lots of teachers, principals, administrators in the area. Like I said, a lot of families live on farms, so they raise agriculture. And then another big thing that I learned was real estate is really big here. So like I mentioned, a lot of people have well-established jobs, so maybe they work for Sprint, but then they also have a side business. So there are lots of new neighborhood developments and some new apartment complexes popping up in Stillwell area, and a lot of them are owned by local homeowners here. People are just building real estate opportunities, and that's additional income coming into their family. So for ethnicity, 93.1% are white. There's a very small Black population. 3.4% are Asian, and that number is growing. So in that Asian category, it's mostly people who have migrated from India, and then 1.7 claim to be Hispanic. Some family information, 68.6% of couples are married, 7.5% are divorced, 35.3% are married with children, and then only 3.9% have children but are single. So like I said, most people are pretty well established. You see a lot of traditional American families in this area. As far as communication goes, I outlined the main newspapers that people read, with the biggest being Kansas City Star and Kansas City Business Journal. For the radio, it's KRB The Buzz, sports radio, of course, and then a community radio, the KKFI community radio, that kind of tells more local information that's happening in the greater Kansas City area. The most highly rated news stations for the area were KCTV5 News, 41 Action News, NBC, and then the KCWE, which is the news version of local updates. And social media, I couldn't really find anything that gave really clear data on what people in the area are using primarily. I just know even the older population, when you talk to people, everyone's on Facebook. I get lots of friend requests from like parents and even grandparents sometimes. Everyone seems to be on Facebook. Next, I took a look at community groups in the area. So some major groups that are important to this group of people are PTO. We have a very enthusiastic and supportive PTO here in Blue Valley, and especially at Wolf Springs. The Sporting Blue Valley Soccer Club is very highly attended by elementary and middle school students, and then up into high school. They have very good turnout, lots of teams. There is a Chinese immersion program at my school. So basically, students are immersed in Chinese speaking language for half of the day. There's not a high Chinese population, but this is a very coveted program, and they actually do a raffle to choose which families can be in those classes because it's so competitive to get in. There's a large Catholic and growing Islamic population. 4-H Club is big. Like I said, it's farm country out here. Jewish Community Center, they have lots of events and sports that they put on, and then they also have like a gym that a lot of people go to. And then, of course, high school athletics. We have a really strong baseball program. Our a local high school team down the road, they just actually won the state championship. So it's a really successful program. As far as influential leadership in this area, we do have an Overland Park Chamber. This group is connected with a lot of the major employers in the area that I mentioned earlier, and then also including Advent Health, Menorah Health, which are two of the bigger hospitals, Sprint, and Central Bank of the Midwest. We also have an Overland Park Rotary Club. The main leaders in that organization are Chris Smith, the president, and then the vice president, Lori McCormick. This Rotary Club is a place where you can find business people, nonprofit leaders, community and political leaders, all coming together to support the community and service. There's a lot of money in that group and important, influential people on their staff and on their team. We also have Overland Park City Council with President Kurt Skoog. Greg Graves, the former Chief Executive Officer of Burns and McDonnell, and then he's also a Blue Valley Hall of Fame member. And then, of course, Mayor Carl Gerlach, which I'll talk about him a little bit more later in the presentation. And then our superintendent is very well connected, Dr. Tanya Merrigan. A little bit about economic conditions, which I have spoken into a bit already, but the median household income is $130,000. Like I said, many people, I'm finding it is very common for families to have like a base job where they bring in their annual income, but then like side projects. So for example, I used to work for a family who had multiple side projects going on, although the dad worked for the bank, but they also made sports cars on the side and sold them. And then they had just a handful of real estate opportunities that they were involved in. And I am finding that it's very common for Stillwell families to live like that. They have multiple business endeavors and they're very business oriented. You can see that in the median house listing price at $1.15 million. It's the median price of houses in this area, and it's only going up all the time. You can see that those houses it's very competitive to get into a house here, and people are willing to pay top dollar. There are new high-end neighborhoods being developed like further south. So Stillwell is in South Johnson County, and it's continuing to develop more south, and they're just adding new neighborhoods that are also very high-end and expensive to live in. Along with that, the further south that you go, it's very rural, it's pretty undeveloped, and so there is a need for gas stations, more apartments, and grocery stores out that way. Like, you'll visit these nicer neighborhoods that are popping up, but there's not a gas station for 10 miles. So there is a need for that, and you can see people getting excited about opening up new businesses as the community continues to expand south. The unemployment rate in this area is 3%, and then 92.7% of the Stillwell population are homeowners. So a little bit about the political structure. The city operates with a mayor, council, city manager form of government. So as I mentioned, Carl Gerlach is our mayor, and he works alongside 4 city council committees. So the 4 committees that work with him to make decisions are Community Development Committee, Public Safety Committee, the Finance and Administration, Economic Development Committee, and then of course the Public Works. There are 7 decision-making advisory groups that kind of assist them and give their input into the various aspects of the community. Those 7 groups are Parks and Rec, the Parks and Rec Advisory Council, Community Development Block Grant Advisory Committee, Environmental Team, the Legacy of Greenery Committee, the Mental Health Task Force, and then Neighborhood Executive Committee. As far as social tensions and multicultural issues, I kind of had an idea about what answers I would find before starting my research, and sure enough, there was plenty of evidence to support the feeling that I already had. The district, Blue Valley District specifically, has encountered some negative press attention for issues of racism. This is it's probably been ongoing for a while now, but there was some pretty big attention starting around 2019 on this issue with Blue Valley. Students and families have expressed negative feedback concerning racial injustice. This happened around a key event that happened in 2019 between a dance teacher and one of the dancers in high school, in a Blue Valley high school. A student was actually asked to not perform at like a main event that they had been training for a competition because her teacher told her skin was too black to go with the uniform. So of course this caused an uproar with parents and other family members in the community. Of course that teacher was let go, but it did bring a lot of negative press to the district. And then just from my experience, I've noticed that school menus, decorations, celebrations, they fail to acknowledge different cultures. And I have gotten to see this firsthand because before I got my first teaching job, I subbed at a lot of the different elementary schools. And I worked as a sub-para for a lot of different elementary schools, and I student taught as well in the district. So I have seen firsthand that it's pretty consistent across the board.